In my last video, I mentioned the Republican primary and how if you're a Democrat or an independent and you want to show your support for Ukraine, you can participate in the Republican primary. The Democratic primary is pretty much locked up. Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. And these are your options. Vivek Ramaswamy openly supports Russia. No one really knows what Ron DeSantis is doing. And 2 days ago, I said you had two options, Chris Christie and Nikki Haley. And sure enough, yesterday, Chris Christie drops out of the race. What I think is going to happen is Governor Christie is probably going to endorse Nikki Haley in the next week or two, probably just before the New Hampshire primary. And in my last video, I mentioned my state, the state of Nevada, and how the Republicans are having a caucus on February 8th. Well, what I did is I Googled how to register for the Nevada Republican caucus, and it was super easy. I switched my party affiliation. I was a registered independent, non-party affiliated, but I have to support Ukraine. The best way I can do that now is to participate in the Republican primary process to support the last remaining candidate, Nikki Haley. If you're a resident of the state of Nevada, there's a really easy website explaining how to caucus. And I'm going to show up to the caucus events on February 8th wearing my St. Javelin Ukraine hoodie. And if there are any Republican primary voters that want to talk to me about why I support Ukraine and why they should be supporting Ukraine as well, I'm going to talk to these people on February 8th. This is going to be cool. So if you're a resident of these kind of salmon color states, these are the easiest states to vote in. You don't register with a party in Wisconsin or Illinois or Missouri or Texas. You can vote in either primary. You just can only vote in one. So I'll put some links down below if you want to see, if you're American, when your state is voting, if it's a primary or a caucus, and if you have to be a registered Republican in order to vote in their primary. And if you want to support Nikki Haley, let me play a clip for you where she spells out perfectly her position on supporting Ukraine.
Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. My husband is a combat veteran. He's deployed now. The last thing I want him or any of his military brothers and sisters to do is to go to war. But to avoid going to war, you have to prevent it. And just to support Ukraine, it only costs 3.5% of our defense budget. That's it. The Europeans have paid more, and they should. It's in their neighborhood. But this is about preventing war. And we have to make sure that we do everything we can to keep Americans safe and to keep our national security safe.
Supporting Ukraine is about preventing a nuclear war between Russia and NATO. This is a no-brainer. So this is going to be a very long and annoying process. I apologize to my non-American audience, but for some reason this is the process we have for nominating a president. It takes almost a year. And if Nikki Haley is not the Republican nominee, then realistically this year I'm not voting for any Republicans. If Republicans in Congress continue to block or waver on supporting Ukraine, to me personally this is just the most important issue. And I think this is going to be a very determining factor in the upcoming November presidential election.